to be fair, and tomato stock. No, tomato stock, what bloody hell's tomato stock? Beef and chicken stock. Glug of olive oil in there. I'm growing as a person because I didn't say olive oil. Bonjour. I make our cassoulet, which is a French traditional casserole. Wanted to do it as traditional as possible, but there's loads of stuff I couldn't find. So it's traditionally made with sausages, pork belly, and duck confit la canard. Or is it just confit canard? Anyway, couldn't find confit duck for love nor money. Sort of sausage you're supposed to use is, you can use a bit of a mix, but the main one that you should have is Toulouse sausages, which are really nice. They're really garlicky and they're made with garlic. They're made with garlic and it's port or wine, but they're really nice. I've seen them here and there, like Sainsbury's has had them in the past. Couldn't for the love nor money find them. So I'm using good quality Cumberland sausages and good quality pork belly. Gonna miss out the confit duck. Did a bit of research. Some people say, oh, you can do chicken thighs and stuff like that. I was like, if I'm not putting in duck, I might as well just not worry about the bird aspect. Other than that, trying to kind of being pretty traditional. I am adding in some pancetta just to add a bit of sort of like a smoky curedness. Got some stock, tinned tomatoes, and some. These are haricot beans, which are essentially the baked beans bean. But that hasn't been, well, it's probably still been baked, but it isn't in the tomato sauce. This is kind of like a cowboy meat and beans, pork and beans stew. Really, really quite nice. I've got one large onion. I'm going to try and get through this as quick as possible because it does take quite a while. It's a great winter warmer. Stick it in the oven for a couple of hours and it comes out brilliant. Got one large onion, diced, not particularly fancy about the size of it. There is also in here, which you can't see because it's at the bottom, 7 cloves of garlic of random sizes, minced quite finely. Now, I've put 7 cloves of garlic in here because A, I like garlic, and B, I'm losing the garlic that you would have had in the Toulouse sausages, so I'm going to make up with that with some garlic here. But you use as much or as little garlic as you want. It is one of those French stereotypical sort of dishes that should have a fair bit of onion and garlic in it. First things first though, I've already browned off the sausages. You just want a hard and fast brown sear on them. We're going to do the same with the pork belly, but I'm just going to cube it up into decent sized chunks. I think probably got about 500 grams pork belly, well, probably about 500 grams, maybe a bit less of sausage. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 sausages. This is going to be going in the oven, so I'm going to whack the oven on already now to 170. Should do the trick. Preheated cast iron casserole dish. If you haven't got a casserole dish you can put on the hob, do this sort of bit and do the frying in a frying pan, shows in the title, and then whack that in the casserole dish, put it in the oven afterwards. A glug of olive oil in there. Don't need too much because that's going to release a load of fat. This is probably easily going to feed 4 people. I'm just going to brown that meat off. Once it's brown, take it out, put it into a bowl. And boil. And we're going to move on. Brown that meat off a fair bit. Haven't absolutely fried the granny out of it, but don't need to. Rendered out a fair bit of its fat as well, so I've got a lovely cooking medium in there. Right. Now we're going to go in with the pancetta that I've just dropped on the floor. No, we're not going to put that in there, obviously. Onions and our garlic. Sweat that all down a little bit. And we're also going to chuck that away. Decent glass or so of dry white wine. Just to deglaze the pan. You might want to whack the heat up a little bit just to get some heat back in there. Cook the wine off for a couple of minutes. I'm going to go in with a hefty tablespoon, probably closer to 2, tomato puree. I'm going to cook that off again for a few more minutes, get the raw edge off of that tomato paste. Right, turn it down a little bit now. Fried off the tomatoes, the tomato puree for a bit. We're going to go in with a tin of chopped tomatoes. And half a litre of stock. Any stock will do. I try to go beef and chicken, meaty sort of stocks. I tend to use this to use up, like that was a mixture of beef and tomato stock. No, tomato stock, what bloody hell is tomato stock? Beef and chicken stock. We're going to add back in our pork belly, and we're going to add in our sausages. If you want, you can chop them up into more bite-sized amounts. Like I said, seared them off in a frying pan beforehand, but they're not cooked through. We're going to put them through now, cook them now. If you were to use, so these are haricot beans out of a tin. They're pretty much cooked, they just need warming through, so we're going to put them through later, otherwise they'll turn to mush. If you were using dried beans and you'd soak them overnight, you'd want to put the dried beans in now because they're going to take a couple of hours to cook. The only other thing we're going to put in there is a bouquet garni, which we've talked about before, but I've never actually made one on here. All it is, we've got 2 bay leaves, a couple of hefty sprigs of thyme, and all the stems from some parsley. Not all the stems, a load of parsley stems. Need a bit of string, decent there for string. So this is butcher's twine. You can use any food safe string, to be fair. I like to do a surgeon's knot, so you go 1 and then 2. Alright, tight, and then lock it off with another 1 on top. And that is a bouquet garni. Doesn't really matter too much. If you want to just put them in and then fish them out later, be my guest. What you can also do is tie them up in a bit of muslin or cheesecloth, something like that, just so you fish them all out. But it doesn't matter too much. Just thought I'd do it the traditional French way. So bouquet garni, that's going in there as well. Give it a bit of a seasoning, not too much. So we're only going to go with 1, 2 decent pinches, only because there's quite a lot of salt in that pancetta, and there's quite a lot of salt in the sausages. Balance that with the tomato and tomato paste, so we're going to need a little bit in there. The beans are going to go in a little bit later. Pepper as well, give it a few cracks of black pepper. Whack on the lid, bring it up to a boil, and we're going to whack it in the oven for an hour. In an hour's time, we're going to come back, put the beans in, and then let them cook through for about 20 minutes, half an hour. And then we're done. So that's going to chooch in the oven for an hour. We're back in about an hour's time, chuck our beans in, and have a little bit of a butcher's. I'll see you then. Alright. Stemmer. Alright, see you later. Get it out and have a butcher's. Oh, yes, that. Should be smelling amazing. Should be a nice, rich, tomatoey, meaty stew. Just gonna chuck in the beans. With the beans. Just a tin, you know, like a tin of beans size. Tin, funnily enough. If you wanna thicken it up and make it a bit more stewy and less soupy, which is what I'm gonna do, stick it back in the oven with the lid off or with the lid ajar, depending on how you want it. You could have done all of this on the hob as well, just on a low heat, but you know, it's easier in the oven to manage. You know, have to keep stirring it and keep an eye on it. So yeah, back in about 20 minutes, and we'll serve her up. Right, 20 minutes later, it's sorted. Fish out that bouquet garni. That's done everything it needs to do. But you've now got a nice hearty tomato, pork and bean stew. Absolutely gorgeous through the winter, autumn, colder days and weeks. Goes lovely with a bit of crusty bread. Bosh. You let it thicken up a bit more if you want, doesn't need to be. Another winter warmer. Give it a taste, might need a bit of salt, probably won't, might need a bit of pepper. Other than that, I'll leave it there. Nice and easy one. Like I said, if you can get Toulouse sausages, you should use them. But if you can't, yeah, you know, like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. If I be good, can't be good, be lucky.